worried about how his legal case against President Bola Tinubu's certificate might affect his businesses. The first president said this during a press briefing at Abuja today. He started to also call on the Labour Party presidential candidate and other candidates support.
We are not tired of any business away from me. It has already been taken away from me. The people distributed it among themselves. Yes, immediately after the elections, I was told there was a delegation of governors who claimed they were sent by the president, but I did not even allow them to get into my house. I didn't.
Well, Mr. Atiku also acknowledged the efforts of late human rights lawyer Gani Fawehinmi and investigative journalist David Hundeyin in ensuring the conclusion of the legal case.
I wish to pay tribute to the late human rights activist, Chief Gani Fawehinmi. Gani's vindication gives credence to the saying that no matter how fast a lion hunts, the truth will slay or take it. For this is that commendation must be given to David Hundeyin, an independent journalist whose extraordinary work has become a source of inspiration. I will only drop the fight when the court rules. If the court rules that I am right, fine. If the court rules that he is right, that's the end of the fight.
Well, also speaking, Atiku's lawyer, Kalu, read out some of the documents they got from Chicago State University as directed by the courts in the U.S.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu forged the certificate he presented to INEC. The Chicago State University admission application form that Bola Ahmed Tinubu attended Government College, Lagos, and graduated in 1970 when the school was established in 1974. The same document says that Bola A. Tinubu is Ahmed, but the NYSC certificate submitted to INEC has Adekunle.
Meanwhile, some residents of Port Harcourt want President Bola Tinubu to quickly address the issues surrounding his certificate, while others want him to step down from office. They spoke with our correspondent.
It's no longer a national problem, it's now an international issue. It's a call on the presidency to come out and refute this or accept it. And if there is an atom of truth, I think the president should boldly resign.
Why can't we uphold the tenet of truth in this country? This particular one now, just to open our eyes and see who is ruling us, because the judiciary will not do the needful. I'm not expecting anything from them. This country is in quagmire. So I must commend the braveness of Atiku Abubakar for this particular issue.
So much deceit is coming from the head. The legislative arm is not saying anything concrete about it because they feel they have that serious national issues to attend to. They need to also do something about it to prevent reoccurrence.
This is not the first time a public office holder is having issues with identity. Others resigned.
Well, as you may know, controversies over forged or missing certificates have become recurring in Nigeria's political scene since 1999, when the country returned to democracy. A former Speaker of the Nigerian House of Representatives, Salisu Buhari, resigned in 1999 after allegations of forging his academic credentials. On September 14, 2018, Kemi Adeosu resigned as Minister of Finance over an allegation that she forged her NYSC certificates. Moving on, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says the state government will continue to prioritize the welfare of teachers in the state. Governor Fubara, who was represented by the State Commissioner for Education, Professor Chinedu Mom, said this today at the World Teachers' Day celebration at Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt.
The New Rivers Vision has high premium tied to education, and that is why today the Rivers State government is embarking on renovation, remodeling of several schools, both primary and secondary schools in Rivers State. We have spent billions of money doing all this. Is to make the environment where you teach conducive for you as well as conducive for the children whom we are teaching, and the government is committed to doing more of this to put smiles in the faces of our people. Our salaries are being paid regularly and promptly.
Well, Professor Mom warned head teachers and principals of public schools against charging money for the registration of Basic Education Certificate Examination, BESE, West African Examination Council, WAEC, and National Examinations Council, NECO.
These examinations are being paid by Rivers State government free of charge for all our children enrolled in public schools in Rivers State. I'm re-emphasizing this because of the calls I received from parents, some guidance that some principals have printed forms and says enrollment forms for NECO and WAEC and charging as much as 12, 15, 20,000 as the case may be. I have sent some persons who may form to be parents to register their students or their wards. Once you become a culprit, there is no abeg. The hammer of the law will hit on you. Please don't sabotage the efforts of the Rivers State government.
In the meantime, the domestication of the law extending the retirement age and service period for teachers by 5 years and infrastructure for public schools in Rivers State topped some of the demands made by teachers as they marked World Teachers' Day. Well, the teachers who gathered at the Isaac Borough Park in Port Harcourt to celebrate the day tell correspondent Martha Okerenkem that Rivers State is among 2 states yet to implement the law signed by former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2022. They also called for more security in public schools.
We also are aware there is only Rivers State and the Bayelsa State remaining for the implementation of this.
We are expecting infrastructures. Like some of the schools, they still need renovation, chairs and all things.
We need it is going to provide security to our schools and also provide written and writing materials promptly to our schools. We also want them to ensure they give us the incentives that the teacher, the head teacher can use to manage the school.
Teachers in Rivers State should be able to serve for the period of 40 years. In fact, that should be the only reward for teachers.
This increase in salary, we are aware that there is discrepancies in the payment. So they should try and harmonize it and pay us properly. Most who we are promoted were not actually given what they were.
Well, on his part, State Chairman of the National Union of Teachers, NUT, Collins Techikwu, urged the state government to increase the slots allocated to teachers in the ongoing state civil service recruitment exercise from 2,000 to 8,000.
We also are aware there is...
Look at the theme of the World Teachers Day today. If the teachers are not there, how do you get the education you want? So that is why I needed another 8,000 teachers. In my local government, UB school are 40 and the junior secondary are 21. That is 61 schools. And then you are giving 1,000 to that board and 1,000 to senior secondary. You can look at the ratio. So we need more teachers. You are aware that in some days, Amechi gave 13,000 teachers. All of them have retired. They retire more than any other sector.
But Dr. Echikwu, while faulting the quality of the 13,000 teachers recruited in 2013, said there will be a difference in this year's recruitment exercise.
Those who read education were not taken properly. We have just few of them who did not read education. And so if you don't read education, you cannot mold a child. Some of them, because they were not trained how to take care of the children. Then when children make noise and all that, they beat them up. That is why we're having that problem. These ones, you will see that there will be a big difference between this recruitment and that of 2013.
Well, the theme for this year's World Teachers' Day is the teachers we need for the education we want, the global imperative to reverse the teacher shortage. In other news, the Rivers State Civil Society Organization, RIVSCO, has joined in demanding justice for a man, Amechi Efungu, who now uses a wheelchair after a police stray bullet hit him 3 years ago. Recall that there was a protest after a tricycle driver, Chukwuman Norum, popularly known as Schoolboy, was killed by a policeman at Mwechi School Field in Rukboku over alleged extortion, where Mr. Efungu was among victims that sustained gunshot injuries at that protest scene as the police tried to disperse them. Well, speaking on this, Chairman of RIVSCO, Enefa George Will, urged the police to revisit the case and ensure that justice is done.
Youths took to protest 3 years ago after a trigger-happy police officer killed a tricycle driver at Rukboko. It was during this protest that the police was trying to forcefully stop that stray bullet hit Mr. Amechi Efungu and put him on wheelchair permanently. It is unfortunate till date. The perpetrators of this human act is yet to be prosecuted. Neither has the police taken steps to look for solution for Mr. Amechi's disability that is of no fault of his. Please, so therefore, call on the police to revisit Mr. Amechi's case in order to dispense justice for all. We are monitoring.
Well, earlier, Mr. Efungu, a former truck driver, told our correspondent that he still wants justice.
The thing is too difficult for me. There was time between nothing again. Even the time that I started having beds or so, they say I should buy water bed. I was looking for help everywhere. This is very, very difficult for us. My wife is teaching for private school, and the private school is just a small school. I have 2 children. They just entered basic 4. I'm using waterproof now for my manhood. I'm not using caretaker because there is no money. Only drop to carry me go UPPH to change that caretaker is 12,000.
Well, the police are yet to speak on this. And as you may know, that 2020 incident happened on the 10th of December, a day when the world was marking International Human Rights Day. Away from that, residents of Rivers State have been advised to obtain proper approval before starting construction projects. The chairman of Institute of Town Planners of Nigeria, Rivers State Chapter, Emmanuel Ikechukwu, said this on Nigeria Info FM's Morning Crossfire today, where Mr. Ikechukwu also warned that if residents continue to flout laid-down town planning rules, it will expose the state to a more severe flooding.
The public must understand that no local government has the right to grant approval. They only give you recommendation for approval. When they give you that recommendation for approval, you are expected to either go to the Ministry of Fiscal Planning and Urban Development or the Greater Port Harcourt City Development Authority, who in turn comes to those sites and do the needful. And go out building. You don't have building approval.
Well, the state chairman of the Town Planning Institute blamed the recent congestion of Port Harcourt City on the lack of proper town planning.
Congestion is a problem of poor planning. The government from the onset ought to have bring the planners in, and we look at the areas where the ring road is passing through on the Greater Port Harcourt master plan. The planners, they are the city manager. They understand how the city grows, and when they take notice of the direction the city is going, what you do, you develop a plan for that particular area where the spread is going, and you see that development will be controlled. When you come to involvement of planners, particularly in Greater Port Harcourt, in fact, in almost all government decisions, we are not involved.
Some natives of Ubile in Degema local government area of Rivers State are concerned that the water level in their community is getting higher than expected. An environmentalist, Blessing Dibani, spoke with correspondent Soibi Oruwari and called on the Rivers State government to urgently intervene and address it before it gets out of hand.
Currently, the flood situation in Bile is getting worse due to the increased rainfall coupled with the annual sea level rise that is peculiar to our environment. This phenomenon is expected to increase even in the couple of weeks to come. Our people are suffering. A lot of them are being displaced, properties are damaged, they are at high risk of waterborne diseases. Shoreline protection and development of sustainable drainage system is not too much for the government to provide for the Bile people.
Another native, Timothy Akudambe, said if not urgently checked, the flood might destroy the livelihoods of the people.
On the water level as it comes into the community at this period of time. As at today, the water that came into the community was about 20 inches high, which is about 0.508 meters from the ground level. And the water that came in today is not going to be compared to the level of water we are expecting in subsequent days ahead. Therefore, a request is made for a support or help that we can get.
Well, as you may know, Degema local government area is among the 19 local government areas that may be affected by flooding. Still to come, Senate summons security chiefs over rising insecurity. Stay tuned.
Child abuse.
Dean of the Law University, of the Law Faculty, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Ndifon, has been taken into custody by the Department of State Services. Ndifon's arrest by the DSS was at the instance of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission following his alleged refusal to turn himself in for questioning Well, the spokesman for the DSS, Peter Afunanya, confirmed this in a statement today. The Senate has summoned the service chiefs over the rate of insecurity in the country. The Senate took the decision today after deliberating a motion on the kidnap of 5 female students from the Federal University, Dosinma, in Katsina State on Wednesday. But the federal lawmaker has also summoned the Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetoku, and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Rebadu. In business, the President's Nigerian Premium Bakers Association, Emmanuel Onwara, says the rising price of bread is due to the high cost of production. Mr. Onwara said this on Arise Television.
Every time when there is a slight adjustment in the prices of bread, you hear people shouting. We used to be very many in my association, but today, every month, people keep dropping out of the business. Cassava inclusion into bread for cassava bread mixed with the flour cannot do more than 10%. Anything more than 10% of cassava inclusion into the flour will destroy the structure of your bread. As good as it is, we can't do more than 10% of it. We tried 15%, the bread became rancid. It was tasting like palm wine. At 20%, it was already fermenting. Orange flesh sweet potato, you've not even been able to satisfy the needs of the one they eat before you start talking about it for industrial use.
Well, as you may know, the cost of bread has continued to rise in Rivers State after an initial hike in July following the removal of petrol subsidy. Our correspondents gathered that a jumbo-sized loaf of bread, which was sold for between 1,000 naira and 1,200 naira, now goes for between 1,300 naira and 1,400 naira. While the smallest loaf of bread, which was sold between 100 naira and 120 naira, now sells for between 150 naira and 170 naira. In entertainment, Prime Boy, the wanted childhood friend of late singer Mohbad, has surrendered to the police. Spokesperson of the Lagos State Police Command, Benjamin Hundeyi, confirmed that Prime Boy, whose real name is Owodunni Oluwatosin, voluntarily turned himself in. Well, recall that the police declared Prime Boy wanted for failing to honor their invitation since the start of the investigation into the death of Mohbad. In sports, English Premier League Premiership side Brighton have identified Wilfred Ndidi as a possible target when the January transfer window reopens in the new year.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
A drone attack on a Syrian military academy in Homs has killed at least 60 soldiers and civilians and injured dozens more. The army said there were numerous martyrs after several drones targeted a graduation ceremony attended by cadets' families. Well, it blamed the attack on terrorist groups but did not identify them. On the news this evening, you heard that the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar has called on Peter Obi and Rabiu Kwankwaso to support his legal case against President Tinubu's certificate saga. CSOs in Rivers State are demanding justice for Amechi Efungu, who is a victim of police stray bullets. The federal and the Rivers State governments are to prioritize teachers' welfare as World marks Teachers' Day. And the Senate has summoned security chiefs over the rising insecurity in the country. On the foreign scene, you heard that drone attack on a Syrian military academy has killed 60 soldiers and civilians. The news was edited by Tonye Kachinwosu. Mostly cloudy weather in Port Harcourt this evening. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. Peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I'm Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening. Good evening.